right, I am so excited about our topic today. We're going to talk about friendship, which is hard no matter what phase of life you're in, no matter who you are, male, female. I feel like it is just something that is hard to do well.
Oh, it's always an issue. So who do you bring in to talk about friendship, right? My best friend? No. A friendship coach. That's who we brought in, an actual friendship coach.
Yeah.
Now that says
But
something.
you know her personally.
I do know her. She came to speak at one of our MOPS, and it was great. Her name is Bailey Hurley. She got her MA at Denver Seminary for leadership, and then she's applied that into a ministry for building friendships because it just makes sense. You know, we all need community. And she also authored a book called Together is a Beautiful Place. So I can't wait to bring her in.
Let's do it.
And let's hear what she has to say.
Okay.
First of all, thank you so much for coming in today and talking with us. I am really excited about this topic. But let's start with you telling us and our audience a little bit about yourself.
Yes. Okay, I'm like, where to begin? I am a transplant to Denver, just like most Coloradans. We're not always from here, but I lived in Denver for 12 years. I came out here to get my master's degree at Denver Seminary. And while I was at church, I stumbled into my husband. And I was so grateful because at that point, I'd already fallen in love with Denver. I did not want to leave this city. And so I met my husband, and he also was in love with the city. And so it was a nice, I feel like it was just a nice fit. And so we have been here raising our family. We have 3 kids. I'm like, let me think of their ages, 8, 6, and 3.
Ooh,
and so they are really busy. So I feel like my day-to-day life, I'm mostly mom. So that's like what I'm doing most of my time. And then I also work at our church doing the adult small group ministry. And then in my other life, in my other hours, I get to talk about friendship and talk about faith. And so these topics are really important to me. I was reading a book by Sally Clarkson, and she was saying that friendships are our most influential relationship. And that's actually how I came to even know Christ in middle school, was through friends who brought me to youth group, who took me to camp, who loved me and just kind of showed me, how do I read my Bible? How do I find the books in the Bible? And then from that point on, we began to pursue Jesus together. And so I feel like it was just a very instrumental part of my faith, how I came to understand Jesus. And so when I became an adult, I had some rough patches with friendship. I think I stepped out of this bubble into the reality of, oh, this is a little bit more difficult than I thought it would be, and began to kind of sink more innards and just down, in myself, in my head, very, probably I'd call it depressed, I think, relationally depressed, and empty. And so when I moved to Colorado, I just kind of pulled myself up on my bootstraps and said, things need to be different, and I need to do this differently. And so grabbed my Bible, grabbed my, whatever confidence I could get, and began to say, hey, let's try friendship a little bit different than what I've done before, and began to build a community here in Denver.
Oh, and they say that, that when you experience something tough, that usually becomes your ministry. So I see why that works.
Yeah. You had, I love the words you just used, relationally depressed. I feel like that's such a good description of how so many people feel, whether you have friends or don't have friends. I think you can quickly and easily fall into that. And I think so often people say, how do I find a good friend? Where would you suggest someone start?
Yes. For finding a good friend, I feel like if you are in the context of the church, that's where I would start. Some of my advice is you need to show up everywhere. And yes, it is time consuming and it requires a lot of energy. But if you really feel like your pantry, your stock of friends is really low and empty, then you need to go to the store and you need to start stocking up and getting names and getting numbers. And so that might mean volunteering at the welcome team, joining a women's Bible study, coming to worship nights. I think just really showing up in so many spaces to get yourself seen and to see other people. And that's really the start. I feel like for those who maybe don't have a context of a church community, that means going to the gym, volunteering at a local community place, really being interested in your coworkers, maybe the moms at school. So again, but it kind of really relies on you being present.
So taking the initiative too, and
Yeah,
showing
definitely
up.
taking initiative.
My first thought when you say that though is it's hard for people that are introverted. I mean, I'm extroverted, so I'm showing up even if I have friends, and I'm like, I just want to show up. Give me an excuse. But for people that are introverted, I know it's really hard, and so to hear that like you have to make yourself do it, it's worth it to just make yourself go, make yourself continue to show up in order for that end goal of finding that one friend, or if that's all you need. Yeah, that's hard.
Yes.
I mean, we hear it a lot. I don't know about you, but I think we've talked about, we hear a lot of women saying, it's so hard to have good friends, deep friendships. How do you go from showing up to all these events, casually knowing people, to going deeper?
Yeah. I think two different things. One would be consistency. So, it's so nice when you get to finally get that coffee date scheduled with a new friend. But if you don't follow up and it's been 3 months and you think, oh, I should probably reach out again, I think in general you're going to lack vulnerability and safety and trust in that friendship because you haven't put in the time into it. And then the second I would say is being, vulnerable and open, and even asking someone and saying, hey, I really feel like we connect. Not only do we connect, we have a lot of context. We like have some concentric circles happening where we're around each other a lot. I would really enjoy getting to know you on a deeper level. So naming it, I think all of a sudden adds this element of like, oh, you do? Okay, like you're kind of opening the door for some more sharing. And obviously,
I feel like people don't do that.
They don't.
Yeah. No,
it's almost like
it's weird. It's like you feel like you're putting yourself. It's almost like dating.
It is a lot like dating,
and you don't want to be the one to make the first move. You know,
you don't. And also because it is hard when someone says. I mean, someone might not show interest, and I feel like that can be really. I mean, that's embarrassing.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, I have felt that every single time I've gotten to a point where I've asked someone to do that, it has only been flattering, and it has only led to something really wonderful. I feel like we all have some discernment to be like, I think this is the right moment and this is the right person to ask to say, hey, I'd really like to go from like friends to maybe could we be best friends. They might have a different definition of what that means, but you could explain yours. Like, I'd love it if we texted more regularly. I would love it if we had a weekly standing get together. I would love it if once a month our families had meals together. And so just naming that and giving them the opportunity to say, that works with our schedule. I would love to get to know you more. Or for them to be like, I don't know, I'm kind of at my like limits for doing that. I don't know if I can commit to that. It's just really clarifying.
I almost feel like, this is being that you are a friendship coach. I love that term. And I do feel like we do need coaching, and even more so now with the climate the way it is for my kids and stuff. I feel like we've lost the art of friendship. We really have, and it is a lot about vulnerability and not fearing rejection, being realistic in expectations. But, yeah, what do you think is the number one thing we're doing wrong?
I mean, I would say it's probably trying to fill our emptiness with friends. So I think if you start at the baseline, which I think most of us do, I am lonely, I need to go make a friend. I mean, that friend's going to let us down. They're going to disappoint us. There's no way that they can actually meet our need of like that maybe like deep inner loneliness. And so when we put it on them to, I don't know, go do something fun with us, like have the conversation, ask the right questions that we really needed to process something. Again, I just feel like that's going to be a lose-lose situation for you, and then for them to feel the pressure of, oh my gosh, I'm feeling like this person is depending on me to, I don't know, bring them happiness, make them feel content, maybe be their fun friend. And instead, again, really just being like, how do I seek the Lord in my loneliness first? And how do I really find my home in Christ, so that then I can offer a home, a space for someone to be themselves, to like be imperfect, to make mistakes. There's no pressure there to meet every need, because there's another need being met with your relationship with the Lord. And so I think that would be honestly probably the first big mistake that people are making when they're trying to find a friend. When you can do that out of this like fullness versus out of this emptiness, it is just such a different experience because you're excited to like serve and know and just like be with that person versus kind of being like, ugh, like I kind of need you.
You don't want to be, no one
to-
wants to be that person where you're needy and
No.
you're, because that's just going to turn friends away. It's almost the idea of like, be a good friend first
Yeah.
before you look for a friend.
come full. Like I
Yeah.
think that hole can feel so empty of if you don't have that filled at all. It's a deep well. And I think I love what you're saying as far as like allow God to fill that. And I think this can be as simple as just spending time in his word,
Yes.
praying with him, talking with him. It doesn't have to be this big huge thing. It certainly can be, but I think we look to someone else to fill that hole constantly. And I love that you're saying like go to God first, allow him to fill that hole, and then allow your friendships to be the overflowing
Yes.
of that hole.
Absolutely, because we still need people. Like I
Yes.
don't think that is that would be wrong, that you do need other people to walk alongside with. But yes, a different experience if you're starting from up here versus way down here.
Yeah. I want to ask a little bit of the hard part because friendship is hard. You can often get into a place you've made a friendship, you've been vulnerable, and then sometimes it gets hard. How do you help people walk through hard, because it can be any number of things that it could be a personal issue. It could be someone talks too much. They talk too much about themselves. Whatever it is, it's not you're not feeling the friendship in an equal way.
Yeah.
And so how do you walk someone through that piece?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think if we're like kind of defining friendship being hard by maybe somebody being hard to be around, I think that there's varying levels of the depth of your relationships. This would be the time where I'd say this person might be more on the outer circle of your friendships than those who might be in the inner circle. And it doesn't mean you care about her any less, but maybe there is a little bit of a boundary of like, okay, I am maybe not going to be at her beck and call. I'm going to maybe pick and choose like when we're getting together, and maybe not allowing that person to dominate all of our friend time. And so again, I know that that can be tricky for a lot of different people, but I truly believe that when you do, and maybe you could have a conversation. That's always obviously like the hardest step to take. But I do think that when you release someone, it gives them time to go find the people that can invest in them and can spend time with them. And then it also allows you to go and invest in some other relationships too. So I think kind of staying in that vague space is actually more harmful than maybe just like separating the friendship altogether. So that's something that I would say is kind of really also discerning. Is it a conversation where I need to share that this is maybe no longer the time I have for this friend, but in a way of saying like, I want to bless and release you to go find people that can really meet you where you're at. And that is not me right now.
So I think we have such a hard time of letting friends go at times. And I think friendships can have seasons. Sometimes they're pouring, it's a really tight knit. You see them every day. And then there's times where that same friendship changes, evolves. So do you guys think in general, like allowing friends to come and go in seasons is a healthy thing?
Yeah, well, I do. I mean, I felt that in my life. I think as you were speaking, though, I think when friendships get hard is when the expectations are not the same, and it's hard to have those conversations. Like we were just even talking about, or if like you're really good friends with someone and things change, but that are out of your control. Like let's say your husband and their husband don't get along, or their kids and your kids don't get along. It's harder to have that friendship and make time for that friendship. I think those are the times when I've looked back and I've thought, how do I navigate that? It just feels uncomfortable to have the conversation. And so I've kind of just let things just see how they roll out. And, I have looked back and regretted not having conversations with people. But how do you coach people through those hard things where it might be the right season to move on, but it's just hard. You feel like you failed in a relationship, I guess, when it changes.
Yeah.
And maybe it's not really a failure, but
Yeah, there's a lot of shame in that, feeling like, oh, I should have done more to keep up with that person, or I should have done more to maybe communicate that this was a season that was ending. It kind of all goes back to communication. Like, can you really sit down and clarify? Or like re-engage in the friendship. And so I think some good questions that are non-threatening are coming to that friend and just asking, where do you see this friendship in 2 years? You know, where do you see it in 5 years? And if there's some like real clear, like, oh my gosh, I hope it's like this. I hope we get to do these things together. I think that that's something where you might say, oh, like, I didn't realize that was her expectations. Or I think I'm really excited about her vision too. How do I like kind of re-engage myself in this friendship that's maybe like where things are changing? What is this going to look like? And then I also think allowing your friend to be like, gosh, like, I don't know. And kind of being like, yeah, I don't know either. I don't know if we'll get to be the same as it's always been. I don't know if we'll have the same time like we used to. Maybe we come back. Like, maybe we come back to this conversation in a week and kind of see how we feel. I will say I had this neighbor that I was very close to in a season of my life because we had kids the exact same age. We're all at the same preschool. She was my carpool. And when you have carpool, you're like, I see you every day. This is wonderful. We were in book club together, all these things. And when her oldest was leaving her youngest was leaving the preschool, I took her out to breakfast and I wrote her a thank you card. And I just thanked her for like what the last, 5-6 years had meant to me and the ways that she really had supported me in that season. And it was kind of my way of being like, this has been such a sweet season and I'm thankful for you. And I'm acknowledging that we're both moving on. We're going to different schools. Our kids are getting older with different schedules. Like this is
I love that. I feel like maybe that's what, that's a really good reminder that like you can not have regret if you actually have closure.
Yeah, closure. And it's like, think about, we're in this, like, it's May, I'm like graduation season, but kind of like, how do you feel about like when your friends are graduating? I feel like it's easy to kind of, if you just even take a moment and see, oh, I can see that my coworker bestie, like she's moving to a new office. That's a natural moment for things to change. So how can you instead kind of like celebrate it and be like, you're graduating on, like we're saying goodbye. It won't be the same. And that is okay too. I feel like can be the acknowledgement itself is a sweet way to kind of, bring some closure.
That's good. That makes me think takes us to another question of like categorizing friendships. Is that beneficial or is that detrimental? But I do feel like we do have categories for friends. Like this is my fun friend. This is my mom friend. This is my, friend to shop with, or this is my work bestie. They're categorized. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Or is it just a neutral thing?
It's probably more neutral than anything. But I think that it's okay to have like different contexts for different relationships. And recently we had this gal who was like a, teenager success, author, researcher. And she was saying that having your friendships in different buckets is actually very healthy. And it allows you to learn how to be flexible and adaptable and, friendly in different contexts. So kind of pulls you out a little bit of maybe just being like, I have the same friends and we just do all the same things and I never like leave my circle. So I think it's great to have gym friends and it's great to have school friends and all of those different, your Bible study friends. I feel like there's nothing wrong with you being a varied person with lots of different interests and finding people who share those interests with you.
That's good. I think that's good. I think the only thing that I felt it was not good was when I felt like someone categorized me and I wanted to be more than that.
Yeah.
But then that just goes back to clarifying expectations, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. As having been a small group leader for so many years, I always could tell because we feel like everyone is our friend. And when we meet their other friends outside, whether they said like, this is my friend Bailey, or they're like, this is my Bible study leader. And you're like, oh,
that's not, I thought we were friends.
I'm like, okay. Exactly. I'm more like mom than friend. Okay.
That's okay. Well, on that topic though, like what do you think a good, healthy, godly, meaningful relationship looks like?
Good.
That's
question.
great. I feel like there's some like classic responses, like, you know, they bear burdens with you, they're praying with you, you know, perhaps they're choosing not to gossip when you are together, things like that. But when I first, hearing this question, honestly, the first thing that comes to mind is conflict, because I think when there's conflict in worldly friendships, there's just so many outs of like, well, like I'll be petty, I'm done, I'm blocking them on social media, or retaliation, just a lot of unforgiveness there. But I feel like godly friendships really walk into conflict and say, how do we seek the unity of the Spirit? How do we choose humility? And how do I forgive and reconcile? And I think in all of my most lasting, meaningful friendships, there has been conflict in them. And having a comfortability to address sin, to address hurt, to say, hey, is everything okay? I feel like things are a little off. And being able to know that there can be apologies made. There can be, you know, ownership taken, and then also the choice to say, like, I still love you. Like, this was hard. This was a weird thing for us. It didn't feel good, but I still love you, and we can like move through that together. I feel like that maybe really separates the difference between maybe that surface level relationship and like that godly, meaningful relationship where you're really saying, like, I'm in this for the long haul. Like, I'd really love to see this friendship through all the different seasons, but that probably means we're going to have some difficult conversations along the way.
Yeah, and I think those hard conversations take practice.
Honestly,
Honestly, to do them well.
Absolutely.
I mean, I think we definitely screw them up, but I think even when I look at my kids, you know, and even trying in a hard moment when I've maybe done something wrong and to apologize to them, it takes a different kind of humility. And it's kind of this same type of humility that we're talking about in friendship. Like, it takes practice. It's not gonna, like, the first time you do it, it may not go really well. But that doesn't mean you don't continue to walk through it. You continue to walk in humility. And I think when we take that first step in humility, it changes the direction versus it's easy to come in hot and feel like we're right. But I think a healthy friendship definitely leads with that humility. And then it takes practice. It's like, I'm going to err and then say, like, well, this is what I was trying to accomplish, and I'm really sorry, this is not the direction I headed. But I think it takes practice.
Yeah, I think you're kind of saying something right out that we all need to hear, and that is we hear it a lot. We want deep friendships. But then you're saying in order to have a deep friendship, you have to be consistent, and you have to be vulnerable, and you have to be humble, and be ready for hard conversations and conflict.
Absolutely.
And I think that's when people, myself included, that's when we're like, oh no, I'm out. It's so hard to have uncomfortable conversations, and I think hearing you say, well, that's what a godly friendship means is having hard conversations and having conflict
And being okay with it.
Yeah, being okay with it. Conflict equals deep friendships. It's so counterintuitive to what our nature wants, but we have to walk through that to get the end goal.
I think that deep, meaningful, like the sentiment of working through conflict is like, there's nothing you could say that will make me turn away from you. You know, like we're both imperfect and we will both say bad things, and I'm choosing to still lean in. That's really, again, like just another way to phrase that. Like, what is deep, what is meaningful? Someone who's not going to turn away when you are maybe showing the worst sides of yourself.
Yes.
That feels very scary.
It is. It is scary.
Yeah. Do you have advice to like cross that scary line?
I'm like prayer.
Yeah.
Just lots of prayer.
Seriously.
Probably that is my advice, is like lots of prayer before you like walk in to meet that person, maybe pray together, pray after, just like all those things, because it is so scary. And then sometimes I'm a very internal processor. So I do take notes, and I bring them with me because I'm like, I don't want to forget something that I've like felt or, you know, thinking, good or bad, that I'm just like, I want to make sure that I've said what I wanted to say. And so for me, bringing notes is really important. So for those who are maybe, I don't know if introverted always equates to internal processor, but again, maybe if you're a little more quiet and you want your voice to be heard, it's like, okay, let me just write this out a little bit and maybe you read it like a letter. You know, maybe that's your way of walking into the conversation. If you're scared, timid, you're just like, I do not want to make eye contact right now. So let me just read this and get it out there and then let the conversation start.
I could see that even being helpful if you're a person that maybe tends towards being quick to anger as well.
Oh, yeah.
Like it calms the conversation down. I think that is such a great idea, is writing some of your thoughts down to keep the key points.
Yes.
Because so often, even when I'm in an argument with Tim, it's like, we start arguing
What,
and
you
like
argue?
30 minutes, 30 minutes later, we're both like, what are we arguing about? You're both so mad, but you're not even sure. So I love the idea of writing some of those things down and keep the key points.
I hear another thing while you're saying that. I'm hearing intentionality. And I think that might be one of the biggest things that we're doing wrong. Because I think we have this idea, it's the same with romance too, that it's just, if it's meant to be, it'll just happen,
Yeah.
And I think we think that with friendships, like, it's supposed to happen naturally.
Yeah.
But that is how you can make a friend, but it's not how you go deep with a friend.
Absolutely. Like
I'm
nothing.
hearing
like
you need to
friendship
do
is
work.
not by chance. I sometimes when I tell people the intentionality piece, that might be my superpower. I think now we're sitting here. I'm like, I like plans. I like thinking through months in advance. And sometimes when I'm coaching people in the plan making, they're just like, that doesn't sound real. Like that's not a true, authentic friendship if you're so organized about it. And I'm always like, then if you're trying to pursue authenticity with spontaneity, it's not like, that's just not going to produce the fruit that you're looking for in your friendships. And so again, I'm like, no, it's okay to let it be a little less organic. You do need to have, I don't know, my husband has this like ongoing lunch date with a buddy, and they just have it like it's on, in your calendar, it can just repeat every month. That's just what it is. And when they get to that month, if that date didn't work, they just move it. But it's on there. Like I was making, embarrassingly, I was making plans for like December, and I saw that their lunch was there, and I'm just like, oh, like they just have done it for the last couple of years. They just have their standing lunch date, and that's the kind of thing. Again, I'm just like, you have to kind of plan it out. When we get into the busy seasons, I'll ask some of our best couples friends, where I'll say, hey, can we go ahead and plan October, November? We want to go to the pumpkin patch, and we want to do like a Friendsgiving with you, and then maybe we decorate cookies in December. Can we put 3 dates on the calendar?
Goodness. I need a friend like that. I was thinking as you're talking, I'm like, maybe if it's not your personality, you just need to pursue a friend that is an organized, intentional person.
So
Yeah.
Yes.
Can we be friends?
So the intentionality, it doesn't have to be exactly like that, but even just being like, hey, for the next month, could we go on walks every Tuesday morning at this time? And even that alone, you're like, I got to see my friend 4 times this month. Like that was really special. And I do, again, think inviting people in, I mean, as much as we wish we were the one being invited, you're still receiving the benefits of like, okay, yes, I was the one that took the first step, but I'm getting the benefit also of spending time with people that I care about. And it's life-giving for me. Yeah. And so kind of even pushing through that hurdle too of saying, well, they should do it. Like, why aren't they sending me the text? I'm like, just go ahead. Just be the person who sends the text, and you guys are both going to enjoy it.
I'm always giving everyone the benefit of the doubt because I know I'm a mess, and I'm busy, and I have things going on. So it's like, I always think, oh, well, they must be as busy as I am, But so speaking into that, like, what advice do you have, friendship advice do you have for women that really are maxed out, like work full time, have kids, they're still in the driving the kids around phase, and they're still trying to be very intentional in their marriage, but they can't, we know our husbands can't fulfill all of that because, that's putting too much on them. We need girlfriends. Yeah. Where do you start? How would you advise someone that's like, I'm already like, I barely can sleep.
Yeah, definitely. I say get creative with what you do have. And so maybe looking at your schedule. And sometimes I'm like habit stacking. So maybe you're calling somebody when you're doing the drive back from a school drop off.
Habit stacking. I like that.
Yeah, habit stacking. Maybe, I don't know. I'm just like, maybe you're texting prayers to friends while you're doing your plank. I don't know if you can, like, you're in the gym, you're planking, maybe you can text at the same time. Just like little silly things like that. But then also, I do still think you can find something in your schedule. My husband and I, every other Thursday night, I think I talked about this when we were last together. Every other Thursday night is your night to go do something, no questions asked. And this has been going on for like 9 years that we have, again, same thing. It just is repeated in our calendar all the time, never ends. And it's great. It also gives us the conversation. I'm like, hey, it's your Thursday. Did you plan something with somebody? And he'll be like, oh, I haven't done that yet. I need to text so-and-so and see if they're available. But I think even in your busiest season, you can find a little something like that where you might connect with your spouse and say, hey, I'm kind of needing some time. And I know you need time.
Yeah.
Like this isn't just me. We both need to be connecting outside of the home and each other. Okay, is there a gap? And it's like, is there a gap in our calendar? So in the Thursday night is swim, which you guys, I secretly do not like taking my kids to swim. There's something about it. It's hot and humid in that swim place. And so that's like, it feels like such a luxury when it's my Thursday. And I know I'm going to go do something fun with a girlfriend. And then I also know I'm not going to swim. So it's kind of like a dual, like, let me take this for you. And you get to kind of go, do something for you.
I love that you said habit stacking, because I think that's kind of some of the things that can sometimes naturally happen. So like, for example, I take the kids to soccer on a couple nights a week. And instead of just sitting there watching practice, I'll have a girlfriend come and meet me and we'll walk while they practice. So I think we just have to think outside the box of like, how can I habit stack? How can I call someone in the car? How can I make the most of the time, even if it's 15 minutes, that's 15 minutes. And sometimes that other person only has 15 minutes as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think the hardest part is when your seasons change, finding that new rhythm of how do I make this happen? Because I used to do Bible studies in the carpool lane. And once I stopped driving my kids to school, I'm like, when do I do this? And it was like, I was trying to find a new way. And I used to be on Marco Polo so much for that reason too. I stayed connected with my friends because I had that block of time to talk. And the minute that I lost that, I'm like, I've lost communicating with my friends that live out of state. So I'm having to find a new space to do it. So.
Yeah, that's really good. Typically in coaching, I tell people to reassess every 6 months their rhythms, because that's at least where I'm at right now. Things are changing every 6 months. And so that's kind of, again, I think a good time to sit down and be like, what am I up to this right now? What are my gaps? And then how do I invite people into what I'm doing and in my gaps? So
I love that. I love that. Well, I mean, I feel like we could sit here and talk forever, but we have unfortunately come to the end of our time here. And so we love to ask one last question. If you could leave our listeners and now actually viewers with one last thing, what would that be?
Yes, I will talk to said viewers, listeners. I think friendship is so complex, and we are complex adults. And yet at the same time, God takes many complex things and makes order out of them. And so when you feel like you are misunderstood in friendship, you feel like, why am I the only one that's not getting this right? Today was great. Tomorrow you're feeling like, no one texted me today. It was my birthday. But then the next day, a girlfriend shows up with, a gift at your door. It's just such highs and lows all the time. And God is able to meet you in that. He sees you. He loves you. He can fill these weird spaces that happen in the in-between of the friendship hopes and losses. And that I just think there's so much hope in a God who is so much bigger, I think, than feeling like our complexity can never be solved. Like God is in that with you. So that's kind of something that I think for me, because I love my friends. I love friendship. I still have so many days and so many seasons where I'm like, I don't have any friends and nobody likes me and all of those things. We all do. And so just that, like, God is like, I see you in that. And sometimes I will get a random call. Like someone will, someone out of nowhere, and you're like, okay, thank you. Like there are people there for me, and God is definitely there for me.
Well, Bailey, it has been such a joy having you today. Thank you so much for
Thank
joining
you.
us. Let me just pray us out.
Okay.
Heavenly Father, we are just so grateful for friendships and the community that you desire for us in other people. And I just pray that you would help us to be courageous. I pray that you would help us to be humble. I pray that we would fill ourselves with you first and overflow with friendship, Lord. And I thank you that you have given us that gift. Help us to pursue it just together in your precious name. Amen.
Amen.
This podcast is hosted by me, Stacy Ludwig, and Jacque Carlson. We are mixed and edited by Andrew Leopard. Our senior producer is Colin McFarland. Anchors and Waves is a part of the Mission Hills Podcast Network. Thank you for listening.